Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here at SF Indie Fest's Green Film Festival, San Francisco. Welcome. As you can see, we're still kind of in these weird times where we're hybrid and the sense of in-person and virtual screenings. And we're lucky enough that there's filmmakers out there continuing to make really cool and interesting films. And so you just saw the really wonderful film, Holgut, and we're lucky enough to have the director here, Lisbeth de Kuller. Welcome, Lisbeth.
Hi, thanks for showing my movie and having me here.
Most definitely. Well, I was excited to have it as part of the festival in the sense that, while we're an environmental film festival, we're wanting to kind of explore what that means from different kind of creative approaches, and, really enjoyed your film. Maybe a good place to start is, how did you kind of first hear about this story and knew that there was a documentary to be made?
Yeah. Well, when I finished my first documentary, which was on the Redwood Forest in Northern California, so not far from where you are, I already got into the idea of doing something about extinction, because I got fascinated about how humans, on one hand, are highly contributing to these extinctions of fauna and flora, but on the other hand, we seem to have this tendency, or this appreciation of this wild and natural world. So it's this balance between these two extremes that I found very interesting. And so on the one hand, there was this idea of extinction, and then also there was the idea of global warming and temperatures rising. And so with these two main themes, I set off to look for a specific story. And what I knew from the very beginning is that both global warming and extinction are things that are happening now. We hear it all the time that by 2050, so many plants will go extinct and the sea levels will rise by this amount. So I really wanted to have a story where we could see this in front of our eyes, where we could really feel and see it. And so I started on a big research trip online, and I came to the story of the mammoth de-extinction. Actually, first I found out about the Mammoth cloning project, which is this collaboration between these laboratories in Seoul and the university in Yakutsk. And I was really overwhelmed by the story of extinction. I read it, but de-extinction, I hadn't even heard about that. I didn't know that was a thing that humans are doing. So when I found that, that brought me to Siberia, to Yakutia. And yeah, as we know, these territories up in the north, they are really you can really see this permafrost melting and everything. So there I kind of had everything coming together. But like I said just now, I wanted to see this extinction happening in front of our eyes. And with the mammoths, we were still talking about something that happened in the past and that might happen in the future, near or far future. And so at that point, I was still, the first time I went to Yakutia, I was still very much interested in also these tusk hunters. And I read about it in National Geographic and on other channels. And when I met Semyon, the scientist in the University of Yakutsk, we immediately got along very well. And he said, okay, if you want tusk hunters, you might want to go up north to the village where he was born, Kazachi, and there you might find tusk hunters. And I said, okay. So we set off to the north, first 3 hours on a plane and then 6 hours with a car on a frozen river. And we end up in this town and we meet these tusk hunters, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted, because with these tusk hunters, the focus was very much on mammoths and not about other animals now who are struggling now. But coincidentally, well, when you go to Kazachi, and you want to stay there for a while, you can't, there's no hotel or there's no Airbnb, so you kind of have to get invited by people from the village. So we were staying with this family, and while we during the day we went to talk to these tusk hunters, the whole family, like the children, the grandparents, they came by and they showed on their smartphones all these images of their life on the tundra. and they were very proud of it, and it was very beautiful, but you immediately saw that it was very tough as well, the hunting, the fishing, the keeping warm in winter. And so when I felt like this path of the Tusk Hunters, that it was going nowhere, I thought, okay, with this family and what they are doing, this is what I want to show. I want to show how humans are able to survive in these harsh conditions. And then with the man of that family, we came to an agreement, because coincidentally, he was a film fanatic, the man of the family where we were staying. And he had made multiple documentaries himself, and he had made the expedition to the north, and he filmed that with some of his friends. And he showed this to me while we were there in the evening, and that really inspired me. So he agreed that he would look for characters, because he couldn't be character himself. So he would help me look for a character, for somebody that really embodied this landscape. And with him, we also started talking, like, okay, so which animals is struggling now? And he's like, I don't know, maybe we can go on a quest for a wolf. And it's like, but are they struggling? No, not really. Or maybe with and then rabbits. So there were all these animals, and then suddenly he says, maybe we can go hunt for reindeer, because I had seen on the pictures that it was a very important animal for them. And he said, yeah, reindeer, okay, but there are no more wild reindeer. They're all taken care of by these herds. They're all domesticated. I said, okay, that's the story that I want to tell. So that's a long story to see how everything came together, and how it started with these two themes of extinction and global warming, and how little by little all the right blocks fell into its place.
Very cool. Well, so one of the things I think people are often curious about is like, especially with that area of the world, is just like, it seems so harsh and difficult. And so, like, what is it like making a film in those circumstances, and how are there any kind of difficult stories just based on the kind of working in those sorts of kind of physical environment, and how does that affect how you creatively told the story?
Yeah, well, it is a very difficult environment there. And it was from the first time I went there in 2014, it was immediately clear to me that it had to be taken in account. You cannot go around it. And I went there a couple of times. And the first time, like I said, was in winter, and we could just drive on the river, and it was fairly easy. But at that point, it was minus 40 degrees Celsius outside, which is really very cold. And so we knew that if we would go out to meet somebody or to take some pictures, it was still a research period, but we could only be out for 30 minutes. So, and beside, after that time span, your fingers and your nose and your ear really start hurting. So maybe you can make it to 40, 45 minutes, but then you really have to get back inside, and it was very exhausting. But it was in winter, it was very beautiful. It's like this snowy winter wonderland kind of situation, all natural. But it was not what I wanted to tell. I wanted to show this land that is suffering from global warming and changing from global warming. So I knew that I had to film in summer and show the land as it's melting. And when we went back the second time, it was in summer, and we went on this same river that wasn't frozen anymore. It was a lot of water. And then there was, during this research trip, I was with a guide, and we did have a boat accident at the small time moment, which was like pretty traumatizing, and it took some time to deal with that, also with the people from the village and with the scientists. So I mean, the fact that happened, it became part of the documentary, and like doing it in the right way. And like it's a beautiful landscape, it's a dangerous landscape, and it's something to respect and honor, and that was very clear for me. But then during the actual filming, when we went back to do the actual filming, we were very lucky, and it was nice, mild weather, and well, yeah, of course, in summer there's mosquitoes.
Mhm.
Although the mosquitoes are probably the worst thing in summer, especially because the camera guy, he lost his mosquito net. So we with the three people, we were sharing two mosquito nets, and one person was always suffering from that a bit.
Oh, wow.
But besides that, everything went pretty smooth. Yeah.
And so it's interesting that that one gentleman had been making some documentaries and things kind of as a film fanatic, as you called him. So as you kind of started reaching out to people and talking to folks about filming their life, how did they feel? I mean, these the communities that you're following, feel so remote, were they interested in being filmed, or was there any reluctance, or were they just more of like, okay, well, she's here, let's let her tell the story? Like, because it's obviously there's a lot of responsibility in being able to tell somebody's story. And so, like, what was that like?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of phases in this, and the first one is meeting Semyon, the scientist who plays one of the big main roles in the movie. And we met first. I just contacted him, and I asked for a meeting, and I went to Yakutsk, and this was, like I said, in 2014. So from that point on, we had multiple years, and I went a couple of times to Yakutsk. It's the main city of Yakutia, so it's fairly easy to reach. And we had communications over the year, like propositions of, should we do this? Can we do that? And I also explained to him my intentions, how I wanted the movie to be an ode to the landscape, and I wanted to show him as well as not just a laboratory scientist, but also somebody who really knows the land, who knows the people who other people who are looking for these remains. And he was very enthusiastic. Now the two brothers that I filmed, well, a big part was with the help of this man from that family, Klim, because we met him, and because I explained my intentions to it, and he was enthusiastic. We had a really big help in him finding the people and also explaining the project. But one way of dealing with it is also that Holgut is not just a documentary film. It's a hybrid docu-fiction. And one of the reasons that I do this is also so that the characters, that they have also the possibility to create their story and their screen persona. I mean, they are themselves, but they are in charge. Like I always say that before I went to do the filming, I had a very extended research, but I still had to be open. I didn't want to come and impose anything on them. So I had two storylines in which they could still say, okay, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this not. And I had a lot of propositions for them, and we that's how we worked on it. I also told them that I didn't just want to observe them, but I also didn't look at them as actors. It was more like I more looked at them as guides who would take us along through their world. And they had this liberty to say something no, or to something yes, or to alter it a bit. For example, with Roman, the older brother, I would have liked him to tell the story of the last time he saw wild reindeer. So I go to him and I ask him, so would you like to tell this? And he says, no, this is stupid. I would never say this. I don't even remember the last time I saw reindeer. I don't even remember what I did last year. I said, okay, so would you like to say this in front of the camera? And then he said, yes, this I would. And he got serious and he said it. So, that's a small example, but this is how the creation was a bit of a ping pong between the characters and me, between the documentary and fiction, and mythology. And it was a very organic creation of the storylines.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with us, and also just really making a really wonderful movie and sharing it with us here in San Francisco. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Bye.